Hey guys, Coach Brandon Krause here. Watching a fight last night. The fight ended in split decision. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about it in terms of who they thought won. So I thought it'd be cool to go over a video on specifically how is boxing scored, professional boxing, because I think even some people that have been around the game for a little bit aren't super clear on how the judges come to their decisions. So stay tuned. Boxing is a subjective sport in that human beings are judging it, but there is a criteria into which they're supposed to judge the victor of a round and ultimately the fight. The system in general is called the 10-point must system. And what it means is that the winner of the round must score 10 points and the loser a lesser number, and that number drops depending on the degree that they are beaten. If you drop a guy, you automatically, the opponent automatically loses a point. So you're already like one step behind just by hitting the canvas, even if you have been doing pretty good in that round. If you get dropped twice, well, you're supposed to lose 2 points. If you get dropped 3 times, you're supposed to lose 3 points, although that doesn't always happen. There are even cases where a boxer can be scored 8 points only, even if they stayed on their feet the whole time, just because they were really uncompetitive during that particular round. Well, how do they score these rounds, right? Well, there's 4 criteria. The first criteria is clean and effective punching. Which fighter is throwing the good shots and having them land and having them have some sort of consequence, all right? The judges will evaluate that at the end of the round and go, okay, who scored the more clean and effective punches? Fighter A or fighter B. And let's say they come to the decision that fighter A did. Well, right there, fighter A wins the round. They won't even go to the other criteria because they've already have the first criteria met. But let's say it's hard for them to discern who had the more clean and effective punches. In that case, they'll go to the second criteria, which is effective aggressiveness. In boxing, you are positively scored for trying to make a fight, going out there and taking some risks. So the second criteria is effective aggressiveness. Who's like I said, taking the risks, but who's doing it effectively? Who's not just walking into shots with all of their courage, but who's actually being able to push a fight and then actually have it turn out in their favor? If they decide fighter A won that criteria, well, there they go. They won the round. You wouldn't have to go to the third criteria. If they can't discern that, they are going to go to the third criteria, and that's what we call ring generalship, right? This one's harder to get the grasp on unless you know boxing, but who is fighting their fight, right? We all know guys like Floyd Mayweather in their latter years weren't very aggressive, yet they'd win fights and win rounds, obviously, because they forced the fight to happen in their terms, right? And that's ultimately what ring generalship is. Like, who's in there controlling and dictating what's happening and when it's happening in the ring. Okay, so like all the other criteria, if fighter A was better in that regard, they win the round. You wouldn't have to go to the fourth and final criteria. But if there's no discernible victor there, you go to the fourth criteria, that's defense, right? So you can be positively scored on your defense. Who obviously defended shots better, and that's going to be the fourth chance for a judge to award the 10 points to a particular fighter, all right? Okay, let's say this, though. Let's say you go through all four criteria, and you still can't decide who did better in any one of those criteria. Well, then you have an even round. Then you have a 10-10 round, right? It's a 10-point must, so somebody must score 10 points. They both score 10 points in that regard, right? And that, in my opinion, there should be more even rounds than actually get scored, but hey, that's nor here nor there, all right? But anyways, those 4 criteria is what a judge evaluates to give somebody the 10 points. At the end of the fight, they see who has more points. Who has more points, and if somebody has more points, they're the victor. If all 3 judges have them with more points than the other, they're the unanimous decision victor. If 2 judges have them having more points and one fighter, the other fighter, well, they call that a split decision victor. If all 3 judges have it a draw, well, guess what? It's a draw. But also this, if only 2 judges have it a draw, It's still a draw. It's what you call a majority draw. And Kanan's trying to give us some extra info here. Thank you, Kanan. I'll make sure that everybody knows about that. Well, hopefully that can help you out when you're watching boxing at home. And like and subscribe.